योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्.
Hello friends, let me introduce myself as Dr. Vilas Kulkarni. I am a professor at Postgraduate Department of Business Management, Sardar Patel University, Valle Vidyanagar. Today, I'll be talking about a very interesting topic called academic writing. Many times we have seen that, or I have observed in my career that people are not able to publish. If they are able to publish, they will publish in substandard journal, or they will be publishing in mm, those paid journals. Sometimes we publish in journals which do not have even ISSN. Those are some newsletters or some magazines. Then we are also in the trap of fraud journals. Many times they are such a paid journals, and actually publishing in those journals are useless. So today let me talk about this, that how to write. So that's how my uh, talk would be titled as academic writing today. So let me just share my PPT with you. This is my PPT. I'm going to talk about academic writing and publishing. See, writing is a tough job. You would have seen, you would have experienced also, like writing even in exams, or mostly writing a paper is a tough job. That's because our brain or our mind is not trained to work, to write, or if it is writing, it is not writing creative. See, how many of us are facing this problem? Why many of us are not able to publish in good journals? The answers can be many. Some people may say we don't have time, we have a lot of teaching. Some would say we would have we have not got exposure how to write. Others may give an excuse that we don't know how to write good English. Others may give like we don't have a research topic. Some people say that we have paper, but we are not able to publish it. Some may blame it on politics of publishing, etc. So there can be any number of reasons why we are not able to publish in good journals. So let me just take you to some of the topics which would be useful for you in this. How many of you or us have these type of ideas? If I want to just read them, it's ORCID or ORCID ID, Scopus ID, Web of Science ID, Publons, Sage journals, or Google Scholar journal. I'm sure that many of us, a majority of us, will have at least this Google Scholar ID, because it is either automatically created or everyone logs into some or the other time for searching on Google. So in Google, you have a section called Google Scholar. On that, you can create these IDs. So just let me explain you why these IDs are important, and how as a researcher we should be associated with these journals, with these IDs, like this Orchid ID. If you look at this Orchid ID as a page, when you click this, such type of page would be opening. Now there are here options like sign in, or then you have sign in or register. This ID will to help you to publish papers in many of the good journals. In fact, you will not be able to publish in many journals if you don't have a Orchid ID. So if I'm not wrong, it's like a 16-digit Orchid ID. Here, if you go, like, for researchers, they have so many things like Orchid plus researchers, and here you can click like register for a Orchid ID now. Just remember one thing: when you look at such type of registrations, please write your name very properly. For example, my name is Vilas Kulkarni. So if I type here Vilas, and then my last name is, let us say, Kulkarni, and I also want to add my father's name. So then I will have to write Vilas V Kulkarni, because when I create an orchid ID, it is sent to almost all the journals. Everyone can access my papers as per but just by clicking or entering my orchid ID. So when when in future, when you look at your citations, you will find here that some people may know me by Vilas Kulkarni, some may know me by Vilas V Kulkarni. So my papers would be divided uh, into two parts. So automatically my number of citations would be less. Secondly, in global context, you have to understand here that people may not know what is your surname. They may only know by your first name. So what I request you is that whenever you do this, please be very careful while entering the name, uh, pre-marriage name, post-marriage name. So for publishing purpose, you will have to keep only one name, so that you will get highest number of citations whenever you publish. Then you let us go to this Scopus, Scopus.com. Everyone, majority of us would be knowing this Scopus, and Scopus ID. I have seen that it is sometimes linked to this Orchid ID also. Here you have journals. Let's say a Scopus source list. Nowadays, you will be getting a lot of emails on that we are a Scopus index journal. We are a Scopus index journal, and then you give us X amount of rupee, and we will publish in like this coming issue. Please understand this, that here there is one fraud. You just have to go to search. You just have to go to to journal search here, and check that if is the journal still available in the journal, in the Scopus. Sometimes, like I just subject area, I will say title, I'll say human resource management, human resource, uh, human relations. Let me see. So what I'm seeing here, you have to see the coverage. This will help you to see. I click here, human resources, and I go to this. I go to there's somewhere. I click on this and see the coverage. Now here it is written from 1947 to present. That means it is still in the journal. Many times you will see that April 2023 or March 2022. So they will say that it is a Scopus listed journal. Yes, it was a Scopus listed journal, but today it is not. Correct. So what you have to take care sometimes while looking at these websites also. So only because you get an email, it may not be okay. Similarly, you have a Web of Science. You have Web of Science ID. Uh, there are journals which are not in Scopus but in Web of Science. Then look at this website called Piblons. Piblons generally, what they believe is it's a reviewers website. Most of you who are reviewers may be knowing that it's a part of Web of Science, and then you have, whenever you review a paper, they will ask you, like it happens with Sage. They will ask you that, do you want to send your name to Piblons? So if your answer is yes, then some points would be added, and you will get uh, some few 60 days of Sage publication, easy free access. Okay, and then you have Sage journals and Google Scholar. There are so many other databases also, but these are few popular ones which I thought I would share with you. Right. So now, what is academic writing? Few questions we should answer ourselves here is: what is academic writing? Why are we doing this? For whom we are doing it? Like a reader for a newspaper is a different category. a reader for magazine, they are different people. While who would read journals, they are a different kind of people, or there are a different category of people who would read journal and journal papers. So, what is academic writing? If I simply want to explain this, it refers to a style of expression that researchers use to define the intellectual boundaries of their disciplines and their specific area of expertise. It's a style of expression. Like there may be different styles of writing a paper, descriptive, exploratory, and so on. Not exploratory, descriptive, analytical, critical, and so on. And I use to define the intellectual boundaries of my discipline. That means in my subject or in my area or in my discipline, I would like to exhibit my intellectual abilities. Something like I know this much about my subject. So this is a layman definition or a good definition of academic writing. Academic writing or scholarly writing is a prose style. In the prose style, normally what we do is that I don't write I am saying. It's like it's written in a impersonal and a dispassionate tone. Like the researcher found out, the data analysis says this, or the studies cited here, or the study done by the researcher, it explains this. So actually, I am not saying anything. Either the data or the past studies or some analysis is showing this. So it's so impersonal and dispassionate tone. So normally when even students write papers or thesis, we discourage them to that. Don't write I am writing. Write that the researcher is writing. No? Where it is targeted? It is targeted at a critical and informed audience. It's based on closely investigated knowledge and it is intended to reinforce or challenge the concept of argument. So normally what we do is we are writing for whom? We are writing for an audience which is very small, which is intellectual, which is differentiating itself from the mass. And either I reinforce the concept, like I agree to the concept, like I say that money motivates, right? When money motivates, uh, after 10 years, I want to understand, does money motivate even, is it motivating still today? So I do some survey, some research, something like this, and I understand that yes, money motivates today also. Or then I say that generally I challenge the concepts and argument. Here, what I see is that do I actually um, agree to the concepts which are already established, or do I want to challenge it? For example, uh, there is an argument like youngsters are more creative or older people are more creative. So generally, normally, we will believe that younger generation is more creative. So what I do a research and I take a sample of, let's say, older people and younger people, and I try to challenge the assumptions that younger generation may not be that creative or may not be as creative as the older ones. So actually, I either support an argument or either I challenge an argument, right? So there can be n number of types of academic writing. So one of them is a descriptive writing. So when I talk about and other maybe analytical, persuasive, critical, etc. So continuing this, uh, let us first see. Let me try to explain you what are the different types of writings uh, when you look at the academic writing. So if you see here, the first one is the descriptive writing. The second, it goes to analytical writing. It ends with second last is persuading, while other is a critical type of critical writing. So the first one, let us look at. The first one is a type academic writing is a descriptive one. As the name suggests itself, descriptive writing the purpose is to present the facts and information. Generally, when we write a paper which describes a phenomena or an activity, it's called descriptive writing. Like when you see, if I am explaining a strike in a company, so I'm trying to describe, or if I'm trying to explain a violence in in a factory, then I am writing a descriptive paper, a descriptive writing. An example would be a summary of an article or a report or of the results of an experiment. Uh, I would try to describe that when I mix A with B chemical, then the C is the result and how it looks like and all these things. Uh, the all the space missions, including your Chandrayaan 3, it may be on the larger scale exploratory, but ultimately it is trying to explain how the moon is made and what does the moon consist of. Uh, Descriptive assignments include identify, report, record, summarize, and define things. So, generally, when a researcher starts at the beginning, he writes a descriptive paper. He tries to describe a phenomena. When I write a literature review, what type of literature is available for this paper? It's also called a descriptive research. Uh, this is followed by the analytical research. Uh, Type of research, uh, see, most of the writing is also an analytical writing. It includes dis- descriptive writing, but also reorganizes the facts and information. So analytical part is an advanced version of descriptive writing. But what I'm trying to do here is I will reorganize or regroup the information so that it is logically understood. It is the information is divided into categories, groups, parts, types, or relationships. Like I gave an example of a strike in a factory. So if the strike is it is spreading for 1 month, then I would try to understand. I would try to explain that on day one, or on day one, what will happen? What happened? Day two, what happened? What was day three? What was the impact of the strike, or what was the response from the management? I would also try to in day four. I would say what was the if something happened, if there is some initiative from the government or the executive body, then I will also explain that. So this can be event wise, logically describing uh, an event. So, analytical writing also includes descriptive writing. It talks about relationships. Sometimes these categories or relationships are already a part of the discipline. Sometimes you will create them specifically for your text. For example, a relationship between a, a company which is on strike and its impact on the other factories which are using the product of your factory as a raw material. So when I see a series of relationships, like a strike in one company is impacting the final product, and the final product is impacting. It is not going to the market, and the market is like if you look at the situation of microprocessor chip, semiconductor chips, you will see that there's a huge amount of waiting when you want to buy a car. So a scarcity of semiconductors in one country because it was coming from Ukraine and the surrounding countries. So it is more of analytical. Similarly, when you look at the change of regime in Afghanistan and the impact of export on dry fruits in India, so you can have relationship between two categories. Like for example, if you are comparing two theories, you might break your comparison into several parts. This can be one way of looking at. Another example can be how each theory deals with social context, how each theory deals with language learning, and how each theory can be used in practice. So you have few relationships in analytical style. So in short, it is a slightly advanced the model of descriptive writing, where you are logically trying to reorganize the facts and figures so that the uh, reader is more comfortable. There's something called persuasive writing. Persuasive writing is like in most academic writing, you are required to go at least one step further than analytical writing, which is known as persuasive writing. See, persuasive writing has all features of analytical writing. That is, you have information, plus you have reorganization of the information, but additionally, you also have your own point of view. Generally, when we present the facts and figures, we don't give our own view. But in persuasive writing, we can say that by using different tests or some or the other method, we can say that based on the conclusion or based on these facts and figures, this is view, my view on this. So I am giving my own point of view. So I'm trying to put my thoughts on the paper with the help of the data or the description in the paper. Like most essays are persuasive, and there is a persuasive element in at least the discussion and conclusion of a research article. Many good articles would have this. Uh, there may not be an article where you would only have facts and figures. So you have to write your own interpretation. You will have to write your discussion, conclusions, managerial implications, etc. Uh, Further going, points of view in academic writing can include an argument, a recommendation, an interpretation of findings, or evaluation of work of others. This happens uh, in many papers. You would have seen that the last one, evaluation of work of others, like 10 years back or 5 years back, someone has talked about something, and you actually may be supporting or you actually may be criticizing the work of others based on your findings. One more, interpretation of findings, as I said earlier, there can be a recommendation, there can be an argument. Normally, when we write scope of further studies, so we say that this is where my point of research stops. At this point, my research stops, and I recommend that further research can be done with a larger sample size in a different context, in a different countries with different type of sample, etc. Further, in persuasive writing, each claim you make need to be supported by some evidence. That's how it is called persuasive writing. For example, a reference to research findings or published sources. This can be two ways. Like if your research is supporting the past one, you can use reference. If it is not, then also you can use the reference as that this is uh, contrary to what are the findings. The kinds of instruction for persuasive assignment include like argue, evaluate, discuss, or take a position. Uh, so the first one was descriptive, second was analytical, and third is the persuasive writing. And come to our last one, it's called a uh, critical type of writing. The critical writing is a common for research, PG students, advanced undergraduate students. It has all features of persuasive writing, with an added feature at least one another point of view. So what does it mean? While persuasive writing requires you to have your own point of view on any issue or topic, critical thinking writing requires you to consider at least two points of view, including your own. That means that you may explain a researcher's interpretation or argument and then evaluate the merits of argument and give your own alternative interpretation. Here, you can give your both like positive and negative point of view or some other type of views from different angles. This is what differentiates persuasive from critical. Like an example, here example includes a critical critique of a journal article or a literature review that identifies the strengths and weaknesses of existing research. This kind of instruction for critical writing include critique, debate, disagree, and evaluate. Look at this example. You are reviewing reviewing literature review for, let us say, job satisfaction for last 10 years. So you can give your point that these are the variables 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have been covered. Others may not have been covered. These five variables which have been highly researched, they may not be very relevant today because the context has changed, age has changed, and the type of industries have changed, the value system has changed. So this is the type of critical academic writing. If you want to compare here, let us see the type of writing. First is the descriptive writing. To provide facts of or information, it includes identify, report, record, summarize, and definition uh, of various things defined. Analytical writing, it reorganizes the facts and information you describe into categories, groups, parts, types, or relationships. So here the keyword here is a relationship. Like an example can be how each theory deals with social context, how each theory deals with language learning, or how each theory can be used in practice. While when you go to a persuasive writing, you have your own point of view about some or the other material or literature. You can provide an argument, a recommendation, interpretation of findings, or evaluation of work of others. So you argue, you evaluate, you discuss, or you take a position. These are all parts of a persuasive writing. Look at critical writing. You give at least one other point of view. Here you give only one point of view in persuasive writing, while here you give at least uh, one another point of view, like critique of a journal article or a literature review that identifies the strengths and weaknesses of existing research. This kind of instructions for critical writing may include critique, right? So these were the four major. There can be other type of academic writings also. Uh, Let me make it clear here that when you look at the paper like look at any paper, it can include all of these four. It is not that it is only a descriptive paper. A good research paper may be describing a phenomena. It would be analyzing in the next page. The researcher may be giving his own point of view. Similarly, at the end, he may also give another point of view. So, majority of the papers are mixture of all the four types of writing. Now, the question arises how to make writing more analytical. There can be many ways here. It's very important to spend time on planning. Majority people just start writing and then they see, let me see what comes next. I'll read something and again. So I'm not really planning on what would be the scope of my article. Uh, I would not even look into that how much time I have to spend on reading the literature or reading the corrected material. It says that a researcher should brainstorm the facts and ideas and try different ways of grouping them according to pattern, parts, similarity, and differences. This can be one way of looking at how to make analytical writing more analytical, because I have a huge amount of data. So let me think that can I, like, if I want to study a title on effect of gender on job satisfaction. So what I'll do, I'll read all those articles which are related to men. Then I'll separate those articles which are related to women and then third gender. Similarly, what I'll do that I will look at five variables which are the most important for defining job satisfaction and try to look into. I will try my reading based on those variables. So a researcher has a different type of. They, many people have different type of analyzing the whatever information is available. You could use color coding, flowcharts, tree diagrams, or tables for making writing more analytical. I can also divide my literature by timeline. In last 10 years, what happened, what is happening today. So like uh, 10 years gap I can give. Okay. I can create a name for relationship and categories you find. So I can divide my article strong relationship, weak one, middle one, something like that is possible. Build each section and paragraph around one or more analytical categories. What I'll do next is make the structure of the paper clear to the reader by using topic sentences and clear introductions. So a question arises, how much should be the introduction? One page, two page. What should be the language of introduction? Will it should be very flowery? Should it be very dry? Something like this. All those questions may be arising uh, in your mind. So ultimately, those papers which have a better structure, which are logically designed, which has information, which is the language used is easier, lucid, and easy to read for a reader, they get published more easily than a complicated, heavily worded, and so on. Right. So, how do I make my paper more persuasive? This was how do I make it more analytical. Here, how do I make it more persuasive? Like to help reach your own point of view on the facts of ideas, read some other researchers' point of view on the topic. Who do you feel is most more convincing? When I want to give my own point of view, two, 3 points of view, I have to read what others have talked about. Look for patterns in the data. Like how many people have said, yes, money motivates. How many says that it does not motivate? How many of they say that it motivates sometimes? Or how many researchers have connected uh, the motivation with the age and not with the money? So I have to look at where is the strongest evidence. Several different interpretations, which are real life implication of each one. Which one? What are the real life implications of each one? Like those interpretations. Which one are most likely to be most useful or beneficial? Which ones have some problems? I have to understand that which are those papers which are more comprehensive, like more latest one, or those papers which do not have a methodological flaw. I need to choose those papers which have a larger sample size, which are current, which are recent, and where the methodology used were also correct. So in that case, I discuss the facts and figures, facts and ideas with someone else. Do you agree with this prior point or our point of view? See this point, which one have some problems? Sometimes in the limitation section itself, the researcher would have said that these are limitations of this sample or this paper. Sometimes you will find that there is a phenomena which does not exist in Asian context, and similar study, a study of that variable is been done in some Western countries. So those are those issues. Those papers have problems for us. So we have to understand that does this paper suit our own context or not? So if you want to develop an argument for this, then just look at the different uh, reasons for your own point of view. Why are you arguing so much? Think about the different types and sources of evidence which you can use as support for your view. That's why when I do a research review, my Excel sheet or the sections which are made for analyzing the paper need to be many in number. So so that never ever I will have to read that paper again for my analysis. Otherwise, it would be difficult for anyone to actually write. Okay. Further going, consider different ways that your point of view is similar to or different from the points of view of other researchers. Look for the various ways to break your own point into parts. For example, cost effectiveness, environmental sustainability, scope of real world applications, so forth and so on. So I am just breaking my viewpoint in different variables so that I can easily understand it. So how do you present your argument? Your text develops a coherent argument where all the individuals claim work together to support your overall point of view. Your reasoning for each claim is clear to the reader. This is very important. Otherwise, your argument will not be taken into consideration if the reader is not very clear. Assume or please ensure that your assumptions are valid and look into you have an evidence for every claim you make. So for every claim or every statement you make, please try to give uh, your evidence and use evidence that is convincing and directly relevant to the uh, relevant to the writing. Now, how do you improve critical writing? This was what we have seen is we have seen how to improve analytical writing, how to make writing more persuasive, and let us see how to improve your critical writing. This is very important to understand here that accuracy, uh, accurately summarize all or part of the work. This could include identifying the main interpretation, assumption, or methodology. Have an opinion about the work. Show it to someone that this is what critically I have evaluated. Use appropriate types of opinion. Like the use of appropriate type of opinion could include pointing out some problems with it, proposing an alternative approach that would be better, or defending the work against the critics of others. Sometimes we see only from our point of view that this is what, but others may look at that point in a better manner. You provide evidence for your own point of view. This is very important. And depending on the specific assignment and the discipline, different types of evidence may be appropriate, such as logical reasoning, a reference to the authoritative sources, or research data. Uh, like I oppose this, and I have very strong data which supports my argument. Critical writing, it requires a strong writing. It's very important. You need to be thoroughly understand the topic and the issues. Like criticizing or writing a critique is not an easy job. You need to develop an essay structure, paragraph structure that allows you to analyze different interpretations and develop your own arguments supported by the evidence. If you compare these four types of uh, writings, just to make it clear, in a descriptive writing, you provide facts of information. It includes identify, report, recover, summarize. This was shown in the last case also, a few slides ahead. And that's how the last one critical will be more critical or difficult to write. Let us discuss a few parts what an academic paper should have. So in this process, uh, let's look at in general a paper will have an abstract, uh, a title, an abstract, introduction. Then you have the main body. Then you have some research findings and analysis. Then you will have conclusion, and at the end you will have maybe suggestions, uh, managerial implications, or you may also have, and plus you will have the references. So what is an abstract? If you look at what is an abstract, it's a shortest summary of a research paper. What exactly explains the purpose of the research, its methods, the research gap, and the originality of the work. People write or many different journals would have different type of the style of writing the abstract. Some journals may tell you give an abstract in, let us say, 200 words to 50 words. Some journals may ask you to write an abstract for an extended abstract, which may go up to 2.5 pages. So there are different, but generally, what an abstract should have is it should be a short summary of a paper. It should be as far as possible shortest summary of a paper. It should be categorized into few headings. I mean, there can be many headings, but few of them I am giving you. One can be the purpose. It should tell us what exactly the research was conducted. That means it should be as narrow as possible, like impact of money on job satisfaction. This can be one short title. Or if you want to be more precise, let us say impact of increase in salary on the job satisfaction level of youngsters. So the purpose this research was conducted to examine the impact of salary increase on employees of pharmaceutical industry who were less than 25 years old. This is the purpose. It should be very clear what or which variables you are trying to relate. The design, methodology, approach. Like what methods were used in the research design? Was it a survey? Was it a qualitative approach? Was it a quantitative approach? What was the data size? How were the participants chosen? What was their area? What was their demographic profile? Something it should be mentioned in this design methodology. It should also mention at what time or what was the duration of data collection. Then you have findings, exactly what was found in the research, what was proved, what was not proved, like what was rejected, what variables were studied in deep, and how did I arrive at these findings. So these findings may give some or the other number to as an evidence for your abstract. Originality and value of the paper. How original is the work? You should be clearly able to demonstrate here that is the work a copy of someone? Is the work taken only because something has happened in West, so I am just copying that in the Indian or Asian context? Mhm. And at the end, you have to give at least 5 to 6 uh, keywords. So these keywords are very important when people search your paper. They will be able to search more appropriately. If the keywords are more, if they are accurate, if they are popular sort of, then probably the citation of your paper will increase. So again, coming to the parts of academic paper, what should be, what should an abstract contain? Like an abstract is the introduction, you must be able to grab the reader's attention and identify a thesis of the paper. Generally, what we do, we read the abstract of the paper, we read the title, then we read the abstract. And if the abstract is not interesting, if it is not giving our own, uh, giving something which we want, if it is not written properly, if it is not mentioning what the paper is, then probably we will discard the paper itself. Several questions you can ask in the abstract itself. A quote from a famous work or a person, that can also be some interesting facts or information can be given so that the reader's attention is attracted. Why the research was essential? Like you give a statement of a problem, and then you tell that to answer this question, I am trying to write this paper. A definition of an important term related to the work. Sometimes the papers are so technical, the words are so technical, all the words are so unpopular that they will not be used very frequently. So, if possible, either explain some terms or either explain some terms or either you can give a clarification that this words means this. Right. So, I was talking about in general what is the uh, part of what is the structure of an academic paper. So one of them is introduction, second is body. Now, what is body? Body is the main part. Let us say main part of the academic paper between abstract and let us say references. We have main paper. That's what we call it as. See, paragraphs must be written clearly and arranged in logical order, like chronologically or in order of importance. This can be a challenging job because this is the maximum. Uh, this the body will contain the maximum number of words paragraphs. So writing an abstract may be easy because it is just summarizing what you are writing, but sometimes uh, writing a body of the paper may be very difficult. Each initial sentence links the preceding paragraph and the whole section flows smoothly. Please ensure that. What you have to ensure is that you are not the sentences which is the earlier paragraph is actually linking to the next paragraph. The next paragraph is actually linking to the another paragraph which is succeeding. Within each paragraph, the sentence needs to flow and refer back to the topic. Please remember the goal that the reader has to be in line with what you want him to learn. So in those cases, the paragraph should be logically arranged so that I can relate to the earlier paragraph. That's very important. Cohesion is achieved by repeating important words, using synonyms for the main subject, and using traditional words like however, such, as, therefore, and for examples. When you want to uh, join two paragraphs, then probably these all or join two sentences, then such words can be used. And your last part probably will be conclusion. In conclusion, you must re-emphasize the thesis. This is your main part, the main title, and summarize all the main points in that. So the conclusion should consist of one paragraph, which should it should be the final conclusion to the reader. Sometimes even if the conclusion should be said that even if the reader reads an abstract and a conclusion, probably he should be able to make out that what the paper wants to say. So here, look at this. If you are able to read this, then I've tried to bring an image which talks about how generally a research paper looks like. Like here, look at appearance is plain and simple throughout within minimal use of color and no elder. So generally, your title should be crisp, self-explanatory, and most of the journals would not do any sort of decoration with the article. Sorry, with the title. Then we should have some affiliating authors, who are the authors, number one, number two, and so on, depending upon for what is the purpose of writing this writing this paper. Here, please note that as per now UGC API guidelines, the first author will get 70% of the total value of the paper. Rest, all the authors will get 30-30. That means even if there are more than two authors, let us say there are three authors in a paper, then the first author will get 70%, and the rest remaining two authors will get 30-30. So total may be more than 100. So please ensure here that you know this, that you know how the marking system works. Then you have application to the university, you are affiliated to which university. If at all there is some funding given for this paper, please acknowledge it here as a footnote. Next, look at the body of the paper. Generally, many journals will tell you that your body should be of such a this is this size. Your heading should be for your heading would be let us say 14. Then your text would be After the affiliation, you can have sections like uh, results and conclusions. As I said, it's having more of tables and the data analysis. This would be the most original part of your paper, and because it is based on either primary data and your analysis. Here, you have to understand that all the claims should be supported by in-text citations within the article and long references at the end. Uh, Please ensure that your text, the citations in the text and in the references are matched. Some tips about here. The title is about the title. The title is lengthy and specific. So many people say that title should be very short. It may not be very short, but not very long also. So it should be uh, made by using the minimum number of words, but also but at the same time it should also give you a full uh, reference of what the paper is all about.